From the national perspective, we want to raise the profile of health and wellbeing consistently across Scotland, because you are in positions where you can have that influence, and hopefully we inspire you over the 2 days that you can go back and do that. So I'd like to just quickly run through some of the policy context and a little bit about Scotland. It's a beautiful country, and you can see we're quite a small country, but we are geographically quite spread out. You can see that pupils' numbers are there, but it's predicted to rise in the next few years. And what I really like about Scotland is the commitment at local level to support children in their locality. And if you look at the top right-hand corner of the map, you will see the island of Orkney. And teachers are flown in every day to work in the remote islands so that children get their education within their community. And I think that's fantastic. I can't imagine doing a job where I've got to fly every day, but some do. And we have a national curriculum for excellence, but the responsibility for delivering the curriculum lies with the 32 local authorities, because they own the schools and they employ teachers and non-teaching staff and work with partners to support children. So you can see in Scotland we have 95% of our children go to the local school, and there's a national framework curriculum for excellence, but there's professional freedom, if you like, for teachers and partners to plan the learning that then meets the needs of the children in front of them. Local context is really important, and knowing children and young people really well is key. And the aim for the school, for every school in Scotland, is to be excellent. I think that's a great ambition. Where I think we've got it right in Scotland is that we have good policy alignment, and I would like to share some examples from that. We know it's a great thing if you can get policy and research and practice to be connected. We have sent out in preparation for this event a number of research papers and information about Curriculum for Excellence so that you come prepared for the event. It's critical to develop a shared understanding, and that can happen when you've got that alignment. And the shared understanding in Scotland is what we mean by well-being, and to ensure that everyone involved in the lives of children and young people play a complementary role. Curriculum for Excellence acknowledges partnership working, and it's fantastic to see the number of partners that we've got in the room today. And I would encourage you to look at the delegate list and seek out people, not only to meet with people that you know today, but more importantly, I guess, to meet with people that you don't know and try and share the work that you're doing in the practice and ideas. But you're going to hear a lot more from the speakers and the workshops today. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail. So what kind of policy then? We talk about the best interests of the child, and the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child underpins Scottish policy context and activity. And the bit in bold tells you that we have a dedicated treaty, and it gives us a focal point and a legal framework for all those seeking to improve children's lives. What that means then is you get agreement very quickly, and that's a really good thing if you're a country that's looking to see how you can raise the profile, how you can embed health and well-being. Having something like that that underpins what you're doing really brings agreement to the table. But you'll hear more about children's rights over the next 2 days from our speakers and workshops. So if the Children's Rights underpins Scottish activity, last year the Children and Young People Scotland Act 2014 came into being, and the Act was ensuring the systematic and consistent recognition of children's rights. It does lots of things, and you'll probably hear again over the 2 days about other aspects, but the two parts that I wanted to share with you today was about putting aspects of getting it right for every child, this GIRFEC agenda, on a statutory footing to ensure that children are placed at the centre of decisions which affect them. And critically, that they can speak and have voices heard on things that matter to them. And I hope you got a flavour of that from some of the children that you heard on the film this morning. When you bring about change, because Curriculum for Excellence is about change, legislation then brings that about quicker. So that was a really key act for us in Scotland. So how does that work? Put simply, and many people in this room will be familiar with this diagram. It's our vision for Scotland's children and young people. We want our young people to be safe, healthy, achieving, nurtured, active, respected, responsible, and included. These are the well-being indicators. This is our shared understanding of what we mean in Scotland around well-being. And that definition then helps when you're working across all partners in education and health, from early intervention through to integrated support, so that no matter what your role is, you're constantly thinking, what am I doing in my practice and in policy and guidance that supports our young people to be all of these things? And that is a shared understanding across Scotland. So if that's our policy driver, Curriculum for Excellence then is the vehicle in which GIRFEC, Getting It Right for Every Child, will be delivered. And again, you'll hear more about this from our speakers in some of the workshops. And I think this is where we got it right too, in terms of Curriculum for Excellence. You can see in the bold part that there's a continued emphasis from 3 right through to 18 on literacy, numeracy and health and well-being. So health and well-being is very much part of core business of what goes on in an educational establishment. And when you're out this afternoon, we hope that you see that. We hope that you ask the questions around that, both asking staff and the learners themselves. So that's our policy, or some of our policies. How does that translate into practice? As well as the policy, we also are aligned around our standards for registration for teachers, not only for them to become teachers, but also their continued professional learning. And I just picked out 2 professional actions that's required. It's mandatory requirements. If you want to teach in Scotland, then you have to know how to promote and support the cognitive, emotional, social and physical well-being of all our learners. And you have to have appropriate and increasing knowledge and understanding of the content of the curriculum around health and well-being as set out in national guidance. So again, there is no place to hide, and that's a really good thing that keeps health and well-being at the centre of everything that we do. And in the first bullet point under professional actions, the teachers have to demonstrate a commitment to raising all learners' expectations of themselves. And if you're familiar with Hattie's work on visible thinking, he identified, having done research on thousands of learning and teaching episodes, to say that the biggest barrier to learning is children's expectations of themselves. So we've all got a job to do there in terms of making sure that we support them as best we can. So in my last slide, how do we get this right for every child? Well, we're going to use what we know, and we do know lots of information about health in Scotland, and again our speakers will allude to that, and using that to drive what we do. And we're going to focus relentlessly on ensuring we make a difference through our positive impact. We all have a role in that. And we're going to challenge assumptions and the status quo, because it seems to me that in Scotland we all acknowledge that we're still not managing to close that gap well enough for our vulnerable and young people. And we want to inspire and release those who can make a difference. That's the people in this room. We want to inspire you over the next 2 days and then release you back to where you work, back to your country, to see what you're going to do next. That's part of having an event, and we'd like to hear your stories around that. And ensure everything that we do promotes positive change. So that was a whirlwind tour of our policy. But again, unless that translates into practice, unless we make a difference to our children in their day-to-day business working in educational establishments, they just become words. And we hope that our good news story in terms of our policy, you will be able to see that in action this afternoon.